Welcome to the SaaS Path Podcast, where we help you, the hungry, motivated, and inspired professional, get in and find your path to more income, freedom, and opportunity in a career in tech sales and beyond. I'm your host, Taylor Scotto. Let's dive right in. Welcome to the SaaS Path Podcast. I'm really excited to share one of our first guests here, Natalie Moine. To give you a quick background, she studied and completed at UCLA in Communications and Media Studies. From there, she found early success in digital marketing. From there as well, she also co-founded a events company called Support Local SF during COVID, which is really exciting. And finally, was a key account manager at Learn by Local, working with some of the top brands out there. And then finally, she got into tech sales with the amazing Databricks. She rised quickly as a rising star as an SDR, BDR, and now working as a AWS Business Development Rep. Natalie, did I get all that right?
Yep, that sounds perfect. Thank you, Taylor. I'm happy to be here and be a first guest on this podcast.
Yeah, thank you.
One of your first guests, I'm assuming.
Very yes, cool. The first. So really excited to have you.
Awesome.
So I know I didn't do it justice, but would love to learn more about your background, and maybe you can walk us through a little bit before tech sales, what you were doing.
Yeah, definitely. So currently, like Taylor said, I work at a company called Databricks. We are a data intelligence platform, really specializing now in the machine learning, Gen AI space that everybody's trying to, figure out for their business. And it's been an incredible journey so far. I've been at Databricks for about 2.5 years, and I had no background in tech sales before I'd come to Databricks. So I'll give you a little bit of background on me personally and how I found myself coming to Databricks. So I live in New York City now, but I actually grew up in California. And like Taylor said, I went to UCLA for school. And when I went to UCLA, when I was at UCLA, I was undeclared as a major. And then at UCLA, we have a very strong communications program. And at UCLA, the communications major sort of leads you into working into like the film and entertainment industry. And so when I was there, I did, various internships. I worked for a PR company. I worked for some casting agencies. And the reason I share this background is I liked what I did, but I didn't really love working in this industry. It's kind of funny, because I work for, companies that were trying to boost their brand and have the right celebrities come to their PR events or get their, movies as top box office hits. It was funny because we were always trying to sell we are, an A-level event, or this movie was the best thing that you'd ever seen, but that wasn't always the case. And it wasn't until I got into technology, post-college, that I realized I really loved being in the tech world. The reason being, it's such an honest industry, and the solutions that you build are really helpful for people to, really their solutions, and they're solving problems for people. So the first job I got out of college in the tech world was an ERP platform that connected SAP and Oracle consultants directly with clients for different business opportunities. So you can almost imagine it being I like to say a niche LinkedIn. And sweet. So it was really cool. So from there, learned marketing, like you said, got into marketing, growth marketing, really got good at email marketing, Facebook marketing and advertising as well, and just boosting sales and increasing conversions on members signing up, and just boosting sales overall through marketing, which I really liked. From there, like you said, when COVID hit, I'd always had a passion for supporting local businesses. My friend and I ran a Instagram account that was positioning different San Francisco small businesses and what events they were holding, and just fun things to get the community involved. And we noticed that there was a gap between, these local businesses wanting to get the word out about everything they're doing and really set themselves apart from the competition. Right, when you open your phone, you can go onto Google and you type in like fitness studio. The first thing that pops up is like an Equinox, right? So we're like, how do we really help these local businesses get the word out, share their story about what sets them apart, and have more people come to their business? So from there, it was just a fun Instagram account that we had started, and COVID hit. Unfortunately, a lot of these businesses were, having to close their doors and didn't really have a way to put themselves out there and get like a revenue stream. It was a local cycling studio I worked at, you couldn't do the online classes thing anymore. Right. Or the in-person classes thing, you only had to do like the online classes, but we needed a way for people to really, have a new revenue stream. So from there, we founded a business called Learn by Local. And it was really cool because it connected corporations, like companies that we work for, like a Databricks, a Dropbox, whatever it be. These companies were looking to do virtual events and then also to support local businesses. So it really took off, which is really exciting. And we did, pizza making classes with a local pizza shop. We did a really cool event that was an espadrilles making workshop. So there's a couple in Barcelona, Spain that would teach you to design and create your own shoes, and they would be shipped in the mail to you in the next week, which was awesome. Another cool event was an origami making workshop.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, that was awesome. Cool. We would send people. It was really cool, like a kit in the mail of all the papers. And you actually connected online with a woman in Tokyo, Japan, who taught you how to make origami.
Wow. That would have been a cool class.
It was really cool to see. And it was just such a fun thing to be creative and explore, just a new type of business and really put ourselves out there. The reason I give the backstory about Learn by Local and the success there was, this was my first time really understanding, being in front of the camera and like selling my services to different businesses. So Learn by Local, it was an idea to start, and I had to meet with different prospects and clients to understand, like, okay, what is their business need? What type of virtual event, do they want to do? And how do I position my services to fill this need? So from there, I really got the taste of like what it was like to sell services. And my whole background prior to had been in marketing and being behind the scenes and running Facebook ads, whatever it be. But this is my first time being front facing with clients and really understanding how do I sell to them, and how do I, find a business solution for what they were looking for. So that's what kind of propelled me into wanting to get into sales and tech sales specifically. So that's a little background of everything I, built before getting into tech sales. And then now, being at Databricks, the first way I got in the door was actually through being an SDR, a business development representative, and getting my foot in the door there. And that's kind of how this all started.
That's great. And it sounds like your previous experiences really came together to help you propel into tech sales.
Yeah, it was great. And I'm so glad that I made this career switch. I loved marketing. I loved being behind the scenes and being creative. But I realized in tech, you do the same thing. You're creative, but in a different way. And you're interacting every day with people like this, face to face or on the phones. And it's very rewarding as well, because all the efforts that you put in, you see, rather than being behind the scenes and just seeing a number. You're connecting with people one-on-one, face-to-face, and you're really helping them solve their problems through the solution that you're presenting.
That's awesome. Yeah, it sounds like you're moving and grooving.
Yeah.
So I'm curious, Natalie, what inspired you to kind of make that jump? Because you're really doing some amazing things, and then it sounds like, hey, let's switch gears here. So could you walk us through, what inspired you to look at tech sales in the first place?
Yeah, definitely. So in my career beginnings, I would say a lot of companies I worked for were a lot smaller companies, smaller startups. And I loved, wearing a lot of hats and learning everything, marketing related and just building a brand from scratch. And that's why I also loved building Learn by Local. I was, the CEO, the key account manager, kind of everything when it came to the business, which I loved. But I got to a point where I wanted to learn more and learn from the best and most creative people in the industry. And so when I was looking around to understand, like, how do I break into tech sales? Like, what is my next step here? I thought what I found was like a really good way to do this was to work for like a well-established company that had a really strong sales development or business development organization within it, and really get the training and learn from the best and start from there. And a backstory with us as well, Taylor, I don't know if you remember, but like that's how I got into sales development as well, is I was kind of just asking around. I had a lot of friends in San Francisco where I lived that worked in tech and said, hey, this is what I want to do. I wanted to get into sales development. I wanted to get into business development. I kind of didn't even know where to start. You know, you kind of get overwhelmed when you go on LinkedIn.
Yeah.
Overwhelming. There's so many. Exactly. There's so many job descriptions. There's so many companies, whatever it be. And, you know, just happened to know Alex and Ashley, who knew you very well. And we're like, hey, Taylor's the best. Like, he's very passionate about sales development. Talk with him and see if he knows any companies hiring. And I think talking to you as well gave me the confidence to know which companies to apply for. Also know that, you know, even though I was brand new in this industry, I could do it as long as I had the confidence and, you know, I was ready to take on a new challenge, which was exciting for me. Because I would say making the switch from marketing to sales, I just didn't think I had it in me. I thought I would need, you know, years of experience, but really breaking in as an SDR or BDR, that's exactly the experience you need.
So starting there is a really good spot, especially if you're transitioning into tech sales.
100%.
Nice. And then maybe go into that, because I know when we had talked, I was really excited to try and get you introduced to some of these companies because I know you would crush it. But maybe walk us through more of some of those internal fears that you have, because those aren't always the things we share publicly, but those can definitely be there and hinder how we, you know, reach out or do things. So would love to hear more about that.
Yes, definitely. So internal fears when it comes to, you know, transitioning and being a salesperson in general. I mean, two big things that stand out. One is, like, I think everybody has this fear of cold calling.
Yeah, I do too. Yeah.
Huge fear of cold calling, which makes sense. So that was a big thing. I'll get into that. And then also just breaking into tech. Tech is so techy, let's say. There's so much to know. You know, technology is very complicated, and getting into tech sales, you wonder, like, oh, do I have a technology enough background? Like, in San Francisco as well, everybody is, you know, software engineers and software developers, and everybody can really talk the talk. So I had a fear of, you know, can I do this? Do I know enough to break into tech sales? So really how I combated that coming into the role, first, when it comes to, I guess I'll say the tech piece, not knowing tech as much as I wanted to before breaking in. Like, one, you'll learn on the job, but the biggest thing you need to realize is it's most important to sort of sell the business value of what you're bringing to clients, and you're not going to ever get super, super technical into those conversations unless you are a solution architect or a data engineer, et cetera, on your team. Really what your role is as an SDR or BDR is like warming up the conversation, understanding what business problems they're having, you having the knowledge of what solutions you can bring and what business value your technology brings the customer, and sort of progressing, you know, this opportunity or this conversation to that next level. So you're never going to have to get super technical. There's other people on your team that will lead the conversation there. And then the thing about cold calling, and it was funny. I remember, like, my first cold call I ever did. I think I was literally shaking. Like, I was so afraid to talk to a stranger that I didn't know about a company that I had, you know, started 3 weeks ago about the technology, and it ended up going really well. People are a lot nicer than you think. when it comes to, you're making a call, you're talking about your product. And over time, you just get better at it and better at it. And people are kinder than you think they will be. That's what I'll say. And also, it's not as scary as it seems. The worst thing that people can do is they hang up on you and you move on to the next person. So cold calling is not as scary as it seems, and you'll get used to it. And the best thing about working for a company like Databricks, I would say, or one of the best things about being a BDR at Databricks, is it's an exciting technology and a lot of people want to talk to you about it. So I've had great conversations on the phones with prospective clients, and some of these became big customers of ours. So it's very rewarding as well.
That's so cool. Yeah, it sounds like just getting over the hurdle internally. And once you make those first few calls and start making it a routine, the nervousness goes away. I mean, I don't think it ever goes away at the beginning. It's always a little nerve-wracking when you're just about to make your first call, but it sounds like over time, you've really built out a strong habit, and it's not as scary as you think.
It's not as scary as you think, for sure.
So what were some of the tools that you used to maybe dive into sales development? What helped you there?
So specifically, do you mean like technology tools or just?
Yeah, it could be both. It could be some of the technologies that you learned about. It could be some of the maybe additional support that you looked at into getting into tech sales.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, when it comes to getting into tech sales, I'll start there. There's a few different academies that will help you sort of break into tech sales that I looked into. Didn't end up going that route because I felt like I had the professional experience to, break into tech sales without paying a company to, sort of train and, break into the path that way. But when it comes to getting into the role and like how I got into the role and built my skills fast and really found success, I think the big thing is like really leaning into your manager, mentors on your team, and also the people that you're going to be working with most closely. So if you are a BDR and SDR, you're working with account executives every day. And these are the people that you're working alongside to make sure your opportunities are validated, move to the next stage, etc. And so from there, it's like really, I like to say like your internal selling is as important as your external selling. So, of course, you're selling your product to prospects on the phones and over email, et cetera. But you really want to understand like what would make you the best partner to your account executive in the role. So, based on the opportunities that you're finding and the conversations that you're having, like, are you hitting all the right marks? Is there things that you can improve on? Really, how can you make yourself the best partner to your team members in order to develop your skill set that way? So I think that's a big thing, is like leaning on the people that you work with that have probably been in your shoes before and are a part of your team and want you to succeed, because your success also leads to their success as well. So that would be a great place to start.
Okay. So it sounds like really thinking about how can I support those around me and really learn as much as I can.
Yeah.
And also it sounds like it just takes time, right?
It just
all doesn't come at once.
Mm-hmm.
So as you rose the ranks as an SDR and then even as a BDR, what would be some tips that you would give someone just starting out? Let's say they just got it's their first or second week, they're finishing onboarding perhaps. What would be some tips you would advise?
Yeah, that's a good one. So if you're just getting in the role, or you're an SDR or BDR, in addition to leaning on your teammates and just getting as much mentorship as you can, I think a good way to approach the BDR SDR role is just really being very conversational in your messaging to different prospects. Mm-hmm. I'm sure, as we all know, you go on LinkedIn, you look at your email, and we're just swarmed with so much content, so many long messages, whatever it be, of people asking like, hey, can I, can you do a demo of this product? Or are you interested in these financial services? Like, we just have so much influx coming to us every day. So if you really find a target that you want to work with and you think that your product would be a great solution for their needs, just being conversational and communication, almost like you're texting a friend, that was really valuable for me and ended up to greater conversations than sort of, it's really a give get, right? So
right.
Really sharing like, hey, I have this, great white paper that, I think what you would love to read based on your competitor, uses this product or whatever it be, or we're doing this info session next week. If you're interested in attending, really being, I guess that leads into like being a lot more of a soft salesperson than like, hey, please sign up for this, do a demo. I want to set you up for a 15-minute call. Just really understanding like first, hey, let's give you some information and content. Let me talk to you like a normal person and communicate in that way, and even understand if they're interested in your product to start with before you start making those asks. I feel like that was really valuable for me in the role, and I think does really well because you actually stand out more by being a little bit softer and just communicating like a normal person rather than just spewing information and making big asks.
That's awesome. So really putting your own personality into it a little bit, it sounds like.
Exactly. And like I like to say as well, I think wording really matters. So if you're on on a cold call or you're doing a one-on-one meeting and you're not sure these people are they're maybe interested, but they're not ready to have that like next conversation with an account executive, et cetera. When you say words like account executive or, anything that sounds too salesy, people kind of get standoffish. Right. So I like to use words like, are you interested in an exploratory call? Or can I set you up to talk to somebody a bit more techie than myself? Little things like that, rather than, using salesy words or like, hey, I'm going to set you up with a meeting with my executive or whatever it be. I just feel like you really got to understand where they're at in their journey of buying. And if they're not ready yet, don't push it. You can always nurture those types of leads for, a conversation later down the line, just being really respectful and understanding of your prospects and where they're at.
Okay. It sounds like really making sure, hey, how can I soften the language a bit, sound more conversational?
Yep.
And that actually goes longer than trying to sound more, what's the word? Salesy or using some of the more technical words.
Exactly. I think it's in sales, it's kind of a long game. Right. Rather than, just calling people and just hoping that everything is going to turn into an immediate win. Like, you never know, right? We're so busy and inundated every day in our own role. So you have to realize everybody has their own priorities. And yes, your solution could be the perfect fit for them right now, and they just don't know it. But give them the time to warm up, to learn about your product, or really understand if and when it makes sense for them to explore it. And just being respectful of that. And I feel like that they start, when you respect them, they respect you. And it really ends up being a better conversation in the end and better relationship.
That's so cool. And then for those that are listening, that's coming from one of the top performers at Databricks. It definitely words to lean into. So now I'm really excited because also you transitioned into partnerships. So it sounds like the current role title, let me know if I'm wrong, but AWS Business Development Lead. Is that correct?
That's right.
And then I think if we were chatting, is this the first role? So were you the first one in this role for the team?
Yeah, exactly. Wow. So how it worked is, as a business development representative, you're building new pipeline for your company, finding new opportunities. And the way that I actually transitioned into this role is I was looking for my next role within Databricks. And we had a business need. What we had noticed is we do a lot of co-selling at Databricks, meaning that we work with our cloud partners, being AWS, Microsoft, and Google. We all are trying to work with our partners over there to make sure we have alignment on co-selling opportunities. So we noticed that there was a gap. There was a lot of AWS reps that were wanting to work with our reps to find and pipe new opportunities and vice versa. There's a lot of times that we wanted AWS's help breaking into certain accounts to find new opportunities to work together. And that truly is, a business development role, really finding new opportunities, getting them to a point where they're qualified opportunities and putting them into the pipeline. And there was a gap because there was nobody really managing these earlier stage opportunities and developing them into a place where it can sort of, take a life of its own, work with account executive, technical support on your account, and really move to that close stage. And so it was really cool. The way I got into this role is I met the right person at the right time. Sort of shared my experience of what I'd done in the past and sort of my entrepreneurial, mindset. Mm-hmm. And I love building things from scratch. And we saw this opportunity on the AWS team, specifically at Databricks, to build something new. And so it was fun. The director of the team at the time and I actually wrote the job description together to make it a real role and make this a real thing. And so we wanted to get on top of our pipeline, understand what mechanisms can we put into place. How do we, use the technology that we're already using in Salesforce dashboards and queues to really manage all of our co-selling business so that our, account executives, our team and the AWS account executives are all managing and working co-selling opportunities effectively, and everybody has the right ownership. We also have funding involved, so we want to make sure funding's attached correctly, et cetera. So overall, it was great. And so I was the first hire on this team, really was able to organize our operations, build the pipeline year over year, month over month, and just get a better handle on the business. And then from there, which is exciting, I've been in the role for about a year and a half now, and we've scaled to a team of 5 globally of people that do what I do, because there's a huge need. And so, like I said, we have 3 clouds we work with: AWS, Google, and Microsoft. So we really need to understand and manage the co-selling business and all the opportunities that we source from each of the clouds. And so we needed worldwide support, to be honest, and for each of the different cloud providers. So it's a growing area. And I think Databricks is sort of cutting edge on what we're doing when it comes to opportunity generation on this front. And being a part of growing a new team like this, it's been a really cool experience.
That's so cool. And it sounds like you used your previous time as a co-founder and even in marketing to kind of help pitch this role. So you can always leverage your past experience to help wherever you're going.
Exactly. It was awesome.
That's really cool. I was going to say, you've had such an exciting career so far. What's been kind of interesting to you about it, or what are some interesting insights that you've had about your journey from tech sales and now into partnerships and beyond?
Yeah, I think working at Databricks, it's been a rocket ship from the start, which you told me before I joined the team. It's been so cool to see a company grow so fast, and there's just so much opportunity. And I think that's the most exciting piece. I had no idea one day I would work in partner sales, and that's what I'm doing now. And so I think a big learning from everything is I started as an SDR, BDR at Databricks, and I had no idea that there's new opportunity around the corner for me to try something new and be a part of a team in a very impactful role that didn't exist at first. So I think that's been the most exciting part, is really finding opportunity everywhere. And I've seen that happen all throughout Databricks. There's always new pilots being run, different teams being built that are managing specifically growth accounts, or, new programs or hackathons that we're doing, et cetera. And so, getting into tech sales from the get-go, I thought maybe this would be my trajectory where I would, move up the ranks and be an account executive, and then, eventually a director of sales and all that kind of thing. But I think the most exciting thing is you just never know what's around the corner, and there's just so many opportunities that can come to you. And I think that's the most exciting part, because having so many great opportunities that it can lead to something that you're not even sure. And that's the kind of person I am. I like to find out new ways to solve new problems and be creative. And I think it's just always important to stay curious in the role. And that's where you'll find the most opportunities come. And who knows, right? What the next thing will be.
Well, Natalie, this has been a great conversation. I really appreciate your time today. Any last words that you want to share for maybe those thinking about getting into tech sales, or maybe they are an SDR and maybe thought, oh, cool, I didn't know I could maybe look at partnerships. What would be some closing thoughts for those folks?
Yeah, so the people trying to get to tech sales, don't be afraid. You can do it. It's a very, very rewarding job, and I've loved every part of it. And the people that, maybe want to look into partnership sales, or they're in an SDR role and want to try something new, just say yes to everything that you find interesting in the role. So if somebody's asking hey, can you help with this marketing campaign, and you're really into writing or something like that, say yes and just get better and better about, experiencing and trying to do new things that are in your interest. Follow your interests, and I think the opportunities will find you.
Well, thank you again, Natalie. And for those listening, thank you so much for your time today, and we'll catch you on the next episode.
Thank you, Taylor. Nice to talk to you.
You too.
Thank you for listening to this episode of the SaaS Path Podcast. If you've enjoyed the podcast or want to support us, please like and subscribe to the podcast on Spotify, YouTube, and of course, LinkedIn. Make sure to hit the notification button to stay on top of the latest episodes. Also, the podcast is here to serve you, the hungry, motivated, and inspired professional, to help you find your way to more income, freedom, and opportunity with a career in tech sales and beyond. Is there a topic you're curious to hear more about? Let us know. Drop us a line on LinkedIn or check us out on our website, saaspath.io. Thank you so much, and we'll see you next time.